Well, welcome to this new series dedicated to creating YouTube videos and getting your lights and audio and video looking reasonably good. Hopefully better than reasonably good, but at least reasonably good. And these are going to be shorter videos that I'm used to making for my diabetes channel. These are hopefully going to be no more than about 10 minutes. And I wanted, with this first video, to make the point that you don't have to invest a lot of money. In fact, I'm doing everything the cheapo way here. The only expenditure of money that would be involved in this kind of a setup would be to buy a phone tripod to set your phone on. You don't want to be holding it like this as you're making your videos. So that you pretty much need, but those you can get for $15 or $20, so not much money there. I am using my phone. It's not an iPhone, it's an Android, and it's not even the best Android. It's kind of a mid-range Android, so not a real cheap phone, but not a real super expensive one either. And I just wanted to make the point it's good enough to get started on YouTube. A lot of times people say, I'd sure love to create videos on YouTube, but I don't have the equipment. I don't have thousands of dollars to pour into it. The good news is you don't need thousands of dollars to pour into it. Over time, you may end up spending $1,000 or $2,000 or more. If you're successful and the money's coming in and you feel like you can justify spending more money, but for starters, you don't need much. And right now I'm using some lamps in my room, the overhead lights, and I've got one little light over on this side that is the kind you'd buy in a hardware store. So I mean, no real expenditure on lights. The phone I had already, so I didn't have to go out and buy a phone just for this. I do have nice cameras, but I wanted to make the point that you can do this. Now, the one thing that bothers me a little bit about this setup is the audio is probably not going to be great. Normally when I tell people that I want to interview them and all they have is a phone, I say, get that phone within the length of your arm. You shouldn't be able to reach your arm out and not touch the phone. But I think right now I am breaking that rule. I'm a few inches beyond the length of my arm. So the audio is not going to be super great that way. And most phones, they can take a good video from across the room. And it'll be clear, it'll be sharp. But the audio suffers terribly with phones as soon as you start moving it out beyond a couple of feet. So that's why I tell people I want to interview. Just keep it as close as you possibly can. Keep it within arm's length if possible. Again, I'm breaking that rule. We'll see how good it turns out. Now, I am using a lavalier mic, and I wanted to show you right now the difference between my phone's audio as it records it and this separately recorded audio that's going into an audio recorder. This is a lavalier mic, not expensive, about $35, but this is the sound with the lavalier mic, and it should be somewhat better. So anyway, you can get started. Generally speaking, when people watch YouTube videos, as long as they're not distracted by terrible lighting, or they're not distracted by horrible audio, and as long as the video is not all blurry and painful to watch, they're going to stop caring about what camera you used, what microphones you used. It's almost laughable. People will go out and spend $1,000 on a microphone, and they could just as easily have bought one for about $35. It would have done the same thing. But a lot of times we think we've got to have the latest, greatest. The most important thing, once you get reasonably good audio, reasonably good video, reasonably good lighting, all of which you can pretty much put together without spending hardly any money at all. But the number one thing after that is, do you have something to say? If you're just going to get on YouTube and ramble and you don't have anything meaningful to say, well, nobody's going to watch you. It doesn't matter whether you've got a $10,000 camera and a $3,000 microphone and the very best lighting that money can buy. It won't matter. Nobody's going to care. So, but you don't want to have horrible audio, horrible video either. So you want to get it to a point where people stop paying attention to your lighting, your audio, your camera, and they start paying attention to you. And that's what most people will do. Most videos on YouTube are good enough. And people will say, all right, what does this guy or this gal have to say? And then it's on you to come up with something that will be helpful or entertaining or in some way a blessing. So the number one thing is get started with reasonably good audio, video, and lighting. And you can go from there. You can start out with your smartphone with some lights you've got around the house. And you don't even need a lavalier mic, although that's probably one of the first things you'll want to get, is a setup where you can run a lavalier mic into your phone or into your camera and improve your audio a bit. But, nobody complains. You know, when I do a diabetes video, I never get a comment from somebody saying, "Oh, Dennis, you helped me so much with my diabetes, but it would have been so much more meaningful had you done it with a $1,000 microphone, or had you used a more expensive camera." Nobody says that. Again, in a way, it kind of reminds me of church. You know, you go to a church service, usually the lighting is reasonably good, the mic is decent, and you don't even pay attention. You never leave church saying, "Boy, I wish they would have used a more expensive microphone." The only time you pay attention to audio, video, lighting, whatever, is if it fails entirely. If the lights go out, you're looking around saying, "All right, what's going on here?" If the mic stops working, or if there's terrible feedback in the audio system, you're looking around at the guy in the sound booth and saying, "What in the world is he doing? Why isn't he fixing this?" So yeah, if it fails entirely, you'll pay attention and you'll be concerned. But as long as it works reasonably, you'll walk out of church, you'll go home, and you won't be saying, "Boy, that sound audio engineer, he really did a great job," or "He didn't do very well." You'll be talking about the preacher or the worship or whatever, what you're going to eat for dinner. And that's the way it is with YouTube videos. If you do it well enough, they're going to be more interested in what you have to say than in how expensive your equipment is.